step beyond the marble pillars and gilded halls of ancient Rome into a shadowy realm rarely illuminated by history's spotlight. The brutal, hidden world of male concubines. While the grandeur of Roman aristocracy is well chronicled, the lives of those who served in silence, bound by servitude and fear, remain largely obscured. This is a story of power, control, and survival beneath the veneer of luxury. In Rome's relentless obsession with hierarchy and dominance, intimate relationships were never just personal. They were tools, symbols of status, instruments of influence, and arenas of ruthless control. Official marriages forged alliances, but unofficial unions, such as concubinage, revealed the darker underside of social dynamics. Male concubines, often enslaved or socially vulnerable, lived precarious existences as hidden companions to powerful men. Their bodies and loyalties were commodities, their fates dependent on the whims of masters, who saw them as less than fully human. What horrors, betrayals, and desperate bargains were made behind closed doors? What did it truly mean to exist as a male concubine in a society obsessed with honor and reputation? As we delve into this hidden world, the facade of Roman nobility crumbles, exposing a brutal reality shaped by desire, dominance, and fear. In ancient Rome, concubinage occupied a complex legal and social space, distinct from the formal institution of marriage. Unlike wives, concubines, male or female, lacked the legal protections and social recognition afforded by marriage. Concubinage was often a tacit arrangement, an unofficial union that existed in the shadows of Roman society's rigid structures. Male concubines embodied a paradoxical status. On one hand, they were symbols of their patron's wealth and dominance, a visible testament to power that extended beyond mere political or military conquest. To possess a concubine was to assert control over another's body and loyalty, reinforcing the patron's social stature. Yet, for the concubine himself, this visibility came at a steep price. He was a figure of shame and vulnerability, forever relegated beneath the social hierarchy despite his proximity to power. The dynamic between patron and concubine was deeply rooted in Roman ideals of masculinity and control. Roman culture prized dominance and self-mastery, with masculinity defined by one's capacity to exert power over others. The patron occupied the role of the dominant male, the active figure whose authority was absolute. The concubine, in contrast, was the submissive partner, expected to embody obedience and endure humiliation without challenge. This relationship underscored the broader social order. Public acceptance of the patron's behavior coexisted with private humiliation and isolation for the concubine. Male concubines were typically acquired through means reflective of their precarious status. Many were slaves, prisoners of war, or children sold by impoverished families desperate to survive. Some were purchased outright in markets, commodities exchanged like any other goods. Their bodies became battlegrounds of power, serving as both trophies and tools within the intricate web of Roman social and political life. Beneath the grandeur of Roman villas and palaces, male concubines endured lives marked by relentless physical hardship and deep psychological suffering. Their existence was one of constant surveillance and severe restriction, a gilded cage where freedom was a distant memory. Every movement was monitored, every word weighed. Disobedience invited brutal punishment, often public and humiliating, designed to reinforce their place as property rather than persons. Their living quarters were cramped and isolated, tucked away in shadowy corners or behind servants' quarters. These spaces offered little comfort, bare walls, minimal furnishings, and scarce privacy. Surrounded by vast opulence yet forced into invisibility, concubines lived as silent shadows within their patrons' expansive homes. Concubines were expected to please not only sexually, but socially as well. Their roles extended beyond intimacy to entertainment, reciting poetry, playing music, or serving as companions during social gatherings. failure to entertain or please could bring severe repercussions. This dual expectation heightened their vulnerability, forcing them to perform continuously, masking their fear and despair beneath a veneer of charm and obedience. Threats came from all sides: jealous slaves, rival concubines, and even the patrons themselves. The danger of betrayal was constant, as alliances shifted and power struggles erupted in the confined pressure cooker environment of the household. A single misstep could mean exile, harsher punishments, or worse. The psychological toll was profound. Male concubines grappled with intense loneliness, stripped of personal identity and autonomy. Fear became a constant companion, as did the crushing pressure to survive in a world that saw them as disposable objects. The daily performance of submission and pleasure was not just a survival tactic. It was a mechanism to endure the relentless emotional torment of a life lived on the margins of Roman power. In ancient Rome, masculinity was tightly bound to ideals of dominance, control, and public reputation. The role of the male concubine was shaped by this cultural framework, which cast them firmly as passive partners, symbols of their patron's power rather than individuals with agency. The concubine's submission was not only personal, but political, a visible marker of the patron's status and masculinity. This dynamic played out in both public spectacle and private reality. While the concubine's existence was often hidden from polite society, their presence was sometimes displayed strategically, to flaunt the patron's reach and influence, or to shame rivals by demonstrating control over others. Concubines could be presented as trophies, their bodies a testament to conquest and domination that reinforced the patron's image in elite circles. However, male concubines were far from mere background figures. They were woven into the dangerous fabric of political intrigue and court rivalries. Their proximity to powerful men made them valuable pawns and weapons. A favored concubine might be used to gather secrets, influence decisions, or destabilize enemies. Conversely, falling out of favor could lead to brutal punishment or exile, making their lives a precarious balancing act. Some concubines managed to leverage their positions to gain influence, wealth, or even freedom. These rare cases came with tremendous risks. Aligning too closely with one faction could provoke deadly retribution from rivals, and the line between being a powerful insider and a discarded scapegoat was perilously thin. The sexual politics surrounding male concubinage thus encapsulated the ruthless nature of Roman power itself, where loyalty was fragile, status could be weaponized, and survival depended on navigating an ever-shifting landscape of favor and betrayal. Among the shadowed figures of Roman history, few stories capture the harrowing plight of male concubines more vividly than that of Sporus, the young slave caught in the twisted world of Emperor Nero. Sporus's life was marked by brutal transformation and cruel manipulation, a tragic emblem of power's darkest excesses. According to ancient sources, Nero ordered Sporus to be castrated after the death of his wife Poppaea Sabina, a ghastly act that erased his youth and identity. Nero then married Sporus in a grotesque mimicry of wedded life, forcing the boy into a role that blurred the boundaries between possession and personhood. The emperor's obsession with Sporus was as much about domination as affection. Nero's treatment of him was erratic and often cruel, alternating between tenderness and public humiliation. Sporus was paraded before the Roman elite as a living symbol of Nero's capricious control, a haunting reminder of the emperor's ability to remake bodies and lives at will. Yet behind the spectacle lay a tragic figure caught in a vortex of desire, violence, and political theater. Beyond Nero's court, other male concubines became ensnared in deadly palace intrigues. One such figure, though less documented and partly lost to history, appears in tales of a young concubine named Gaius, who was rumored to have been implicated in a conspiracy against a powerful senator. Gaius's position made him both valuable and vulnerable, a source of secrets and a convenient scapegoat. When a bitter rivalry erupted, Gaius was accused of betrayal, tortured, and ultimately executed to silence scandal and preserve the senator's reputation. His story, passed down through whispered accounts, reveals the precarious tightrope concubines walked. At once prized and expendable, such fates were not rare. Male concubines, by virtue of their proximity to power and lack of legal protection, were often sacrificed to shield their patrons. When scandals threatened to erupt or alliances faltered, concubines were the first to fall, their lives collateral damage in the ruthless games of Roman politics. Betrayals and secret alliances flourished in this perilous landscape, where trust was fragile and loyalty was bought with fear. These stories of Sporus, Gaius, and countless unnamed others illuminate the tragic human cost behind Rome's glittering facade. Their lives were shaped by forces beyond their control, caught between love, cruelty, and survival in a world where power demanded absolute obedience, and where failure meant a deadly fall. The fate of male concubines was often sealed by the fortunes of their patrons. When a powerful man died, fell from favor, or was overthrown, his concubines faced abandonment, sale, or even execution. Stripped of protection and purpose, many were discarded like worn-out tools, their lives abruptly severed from the fragile thread of patronage that had sustained them. Without legal status or familial ties, they became easy targets for exploitation or violence amid the ruthless reshuffling of power. Yet, amid this grim reality, there were rare instances where concubines managed to secure their freedom or even amass wealth. These few exceptions often required cunning, loyalty, or strategic alliances within the household. Some leveraged intimate knowledge or favor to negotiate manumission or inherit a portion of their patron's estate. But freedom came with its own set of extraordinary challenges. Reintegration into society was fraught with stigma, suspicion, and limited opportunities. Former concubines were marked by their past, struggling to shed the shadows of servitude and reclaim an identity beyond their former roles. Aging brought further brutality. The Roman elite prized youth and beauty. As concubines grew older, their value plummeted. Once cherished companions could become burdens, discarded or hidden away in obscurity. The harsh disposability of concubines underscored the cold calculus of power and pleasure in ancient Rome, a world where bodies were transient currencies and survival depended on the fleeting favor of those above. In the end, the lives of male concubines were shaped by precarious alliances and the unforgiving tides of fortune, a stark testament to the human costs hidden beneath Rome's glittering facade. The hidden world of male concubines reveals profound insights into Roman attitudes toward gender, sexuality, and power, views that sharply diverge from modern perspectives. In Rome, masculinity was defined not by who one loved, but by one's ability to dominate and control. Sexual roles were rigidly codified, with active and passive positions reflecting social hierarchies rather than personal identity or consent. Male concubines, confined to passive roles, were stripped of agency and humanity, their sexuality weaponized to reinforce the power of their patrons. Roman society's acceptance of such exploitation underscores a broader tolerance for cruelty and domination cloaked in the guise of order and honor. Concubinage was less about affection or partnership and more about possession and display. Bodies reduced to symbols, tools of political and social leverage. This dehumanization was an extension of Rome's obsession with hierarchy and control, where vulnerability was equated with weakness and punishment with preservation of status. Contrasting this with contemporary understandings of sexuality and human rights highlights just how far society has progressed. Today, the principles of consent, equality, and personal dignity stand in stark opposition to the brutal realities faced by concubines. Their stories serve as a chilling reminder of how systems of power can distort and destroy individual lives, masking cruelty beneath layers of pomp and tradition. Ultimately, the horrors endured by male concubines peel back the veneer of Rome's grandeur, exposing a world where oppression was normalized and human suffering an acceptable price for maintaining empire and elite privilege. Their lives compel us to confront the human cost behind historical myths of glory and to reflect on the continuing struggle for dignity and justice in all societies. The lives of male concubines in ancient Rome, though often invisible to history's grand narratives, reveal stories of profound resilience amid relentless suffering. These figures, trapped in the cruel web of power and domination, endured humiliation, fear, and loss of identity. Yet their existence challenges us to look beyond the gilded surface of empire and glory. Their stories are not relics of a distant past, but echoes of enduring human struggles against exploitation and control. Power dynamics that reduce individuals to mere objects or tools continue to manifest in various forms across societies, reminding us that the fight for dignity and autonomy is timeless. Yet, the hidden world of male concubines also forces a reckoning with what history chooses to remember and what it deliberately obscures. For every majestic empire, there are shadows, realities of cruelty, silence, and pain that official accounts dare not fully expose. These shadows linger, reminding us that beneath the triumphs and monuments lie lives shaped by vulnerability and sacrifice. As we uncover these concealed truths, we gain not only a fuller understanding of the past, but a sharper awareness of the complexities of power itself. The hidden lives of Rome's male concubines warn us that no empire, no matter how mighty, escapes the shadows it casts, and that history's silence often speaks volumes.